engineers. This is the engineer oversight video. All right, let's talk about some of the standards. We got the grading. It doesn't look like it's J-bolted down. It looks like it's all welded down. So in some cases, it's going to be easier to cut some of these some of these welded connections. If it's not that many, send the piece downstairs, clean it, bring it back up, drop it. So we have to look at that as a possibility of having some temporary gratings that satisfy, because it looks like it's all standard. So what you might want to do here is, for example, bring in grading, fill it in with new grading that stays here till the end of the job. Use that grading to basically paint along and go along without interfering with the activity. So that needs to have some thought. But this is all grading that's probably 25 years old. It's all popped through with the rods, so it looks in good order. It just needs scraping and painting. Now, I'll get to the treads in a second, because this video is only going to cover down to that tread there. We got the roof line. As you can see, it's that corrugated metal roofing. That only gets scraped and painted, and we need to seal it in certain areas if we're finding anything coming through, and patch it from underneath with similar material if available and if found. Okay, all welded connections, we got to put a bolt through it. If all of a sudden there's no room to put a bolt through it, we got to do a self-tapping bolt, or we got to do a reinforcement on this so that we can basically have a bolt solution for this welded connection. Okay, all the remaining bolt connections, as you can see, whatever faster. If it's faster for us to undo one at a time and pop in a bolt, or with the drill press, just get in here and reinforce every one of these. After you've cleaned them, if it's faster to reinforce it using the drill press on this, get on it right away. And keep the originals. If you're finding that the original bolts are in very good order, just back it up so that we can basically increase this to 200%. We're going to have to scrape all of this, so we have to find a way to either collect, trap in the individual floors all these scrapings, because otherwise, if we let it all drop, it might be capturing in the corners. So we got to see which is better: capture it and suck it up with a vac, or let it drop down to the ground on the side, because we have full access. That's the beauty. You can literally get a van or a truck in here, or a lift in here without a problem, or a scissor lift in here without a problem to do this project. And I think we may be bringing in a scissor lift. Okay, so the grading, scrape and paint, reinforce those bolts, the plate, the through bolts. See how the through bolts are into the building right there? You got to seal that up, torque the bolts, make sure everything is good. Things like this, we should seal this up with some caulking so that this doesn't feed water back in through the building and back onto the steel. I think from underneath, I'm at least 30 feet from underneath, so definitely we're going to have to use some sort of lift or movable, what do you call it, man lift, to get underneath and do all this work from underneath, okay? But in some cases, by lifting the grading, we're going to have better access to getting the whole thing painted and move around slowly. Same thing on this thing, all these bolts. Any welded connection needs to be, you need to find a mechanical solution to every one of these. So for example, this is a welded connection here. I'm going to need some sort of clipping that basically is a bent 2x2 that basically is a solution that marries this to this and nullifying that weld. Okay? Going down, the grading, the treads. This railing over here is going to be a problem. We're going to need to put a couple more lines. I don't understand this, but it may be one of those where we need an inside rail but just have this outside the push rail, and it's all because of that piece there. Now this is pre-existing non-conforming. These bolts are going to be easy to pop out. You also want to put in a middle reinforcement also. So some of these are good. It will just justify to put in the middle. Otherwise, bring good impact guns. I would use even a 3/4 impact gun here to get some of this heavy-duty structural. Okay. Let's talk about those rivets. Those should not be cut out. Those look good. We need to seal them all up, clean them and seal them. But I think we need to find a way to reinforce them because they're going to be tough to cut out. Same thing up there. So now it's just a matter of how do we reinforce between those spacings all those rivets. Okay, so we need to have a solution here that we all agree upon. And if it's easy to pop the rivet, which it may not be in such a heavy rivet here, it may be something where we basically utilize the remaining space on the steel to do that. Look at this, all these treads. All these treads seem to be in good order. They're nice and tight, but they're riveted. As soon as you drill these out and add rivets to add middle bolts, 1/2 inch on these, we can keep those rivets. So it's all cleaning. Drill 2 new holes, 2 new 1/2 inch bolts, a little bit away from each one of those original rivets, and seal it from above. Look at all that debris in there. So a lot of this debris is paint chips and such. So once we suck that out and clean this up, we need to seal this from above with silicone. We might even consider, after siliconization, a cap, an angle cap that gets silicone to this side and basically creates a drip edge on the opposite side. That needs to be considered. Otherwise, it's an accumulation constantly on there, feeding water. Treads in good order. And then down here, we just need to swap these bolts out. Bolt is missing there. And so that's the end of the video here on this. When you're looking at the building, this is the right side fire escape. Okay? And you got to keep looking at the roof to see what's going on above and below, so that we can seal this up from any additional rusting that's occurring. So we need to investigate what's causing this. We're not touching the roof, we're just sealing it and patching it wherever possible. All these railings coming down and up above, they all are squishing chain link fence. So not only do we have to clean it, change the bolt, but we also need to let it come away, and then we need to seal it, because the fence is probably collecting dirt back here, and I'll bet you that's all rust. So all of these, we have to change the bolt, and then when we close it, we got to seal it as best we can, so because we're squishing chain link fence. There's nothing else we can do here. Okay, that's the top floor coming down. Right side fire escape. Farscape Engineers, part 2. We're on the right side of the Farscape. This is part 1, this is part 2. So we got grading. So again, we need a solution that if we bring our own grading, we can eliminate a lot of these out of here, so we can paint it while still maintaining structural. With a lift from down below, now I'm about 20 to 25 feet from below. This would be a great job for our van to come in here, and up to here we can do a lot of work up to here, because the van will come in here. It's 37 feet tall, so this is a perfect job for the van to come in here with a bucket and work the underneath structure, or bring in a lift from, you know, those lifts that you can just pull along. It's electric. You push it in, and it can go, probably can go underneath the rest of that. Okay, same problems here. You got to break all these bolts because of this thing. There's definitely rust back here. New bolts, silicone shut it, welded connection, new bolt. Anyway, all welds need to be backed up, sealed 100%. We got a lot of bolts. A lot of times these are easy. These will pop. These will impact gun right out of here. Otherwise, let's get some backup drills. In certain cases, when you're concerned about if you see any rust buildup of any kind, you need to put a new bolt in as a backup bolt, no matter what, in both pieces, while you deal with the one at a time. Never take out more than one bolt at a time. Okay. Any cement connections, make sure that we seal it around it to make sure it's nice and tight. Anything that's welded that has a hole, put a bolt. That's welded, needs a bolt. All welded connections get a bolt. That needs bolting. So a lot of drilling, so I want to make sure that we have, first of all, scaffold. Probably going to need bakers racks here, and the bakers are going to basically allow you to get in here and do that. You got to check the roof, check to see if there's any leaks coming in, see if there's anything going on, any transitions that are open already. Let's leave them alone the way they are. Any bolted connections on one side but yet welded on the other side, make it into a mechanical connection. I need to see bolts. So all welds need to be backed up, okay? So, and the grading looks like it's all welded, so every now and then you have to cut just one of the tabs, or if you get the chisel in there, but a lot of times just by simply cutting the tab, cut that one tab off with a little disc, the whole thing will just come up. But it doesn't look like there's major, but all this needs to go back with J-bolts, so we need to create our J-bolts, or we need to bring in the McNichols clips on all these, so that when we put these back down, they're not welded. They got to go back down with McNichols clips. Okay, there's obstructions here, so we may need to at least mark up some of these things in yellow so that people don't bang their heads. Superstructure down below is the same thing as up above. It's riveted, so we're either going to change rivets out or reinforce them, but minimally they're going to get all sealed. So 100% of all the superstructure scraped and painted. Seal all the joints and verify, because some of these bolts are super heavy duty, and I need to make sure that there's no water, ice jacking, any plates up against the building. You got to seal them on both sides, caulk them up, scrape and paint them. Okay. Anything on top. If you don't like what you see, you got a new. These don't have to be epoxy. These are just because there's nothing pulling on this. This is just going to be expansion bolts, 1/2 inch or 5/8 on some of these. But once you verify, if they stop pulling out, as you can see, just check every single one of these connections. This is a 10-year warranty on this. As we move forward here, the same situation is happening here. As you see here, hold on, Sarah. As you see here, all these bolts, we need mechanical fastener answer for here, as you can see, and this is where we're going to end the next inspection phase. So pretty simple stuff. Just standard starts repeating itself. Reinforce and change all the bolts there, change all the bolts here, reinforce every weld. Every weld gets always reinforced. This is the end of part 2. Engineers Inspector Summary Video. This is the left side of the fire escape here, and this is already segment 1, starting at the ground floor. And again, as you can see, you can get plenty of room. You can literally drive a van in here. It's a little tighter than the other side. Otherwise, if you bring in a lift of some kind that goes at least 35 feet, we're going to be able to get in and do all this work. You're definitely going to have to get a ladder of some sort to get up onto that roof, or get access from the other side. Again, we're up against a hill. This looks like a dead door, so I don't think anything, if we put something back here, such as a small trailer or something, we might get away with the California trailer nose in first, because it's very light, bring it in here and use it and kind of block this area. I use it as a storage depot. Okay, again, just like the other side, this side is more, you're gonna see a lot more rust. You even have things already popping. Okay, so we need to do some emergency repair work just to make sure everything is safe first. But the standard, caulking, cementing, changing the bolts. The grading is all standard size, so again, you bring in other grading, and that'll allow you to create a paint station down here. It's very wet, so we might have to, find out, is it clogged? What's the main reason why there's a clog here? I don't know what's going on, but looks like maybe these plastics are part of the issue. Let's see if that's the case. I think it is. So the drain does work. Okay, so treads, rebolting, rivets, reinforced or swapped out, whichever is going to be faster. Full scrape. That chain link fence is going to be a pain to paint, but also you have to make sure none of it is loose, none of it is dangerous, ready to break in any way. Seal everything to the building. As you can see, you always have to make sure if there's movies on, you got to make sure nobody is being bothered. We do have some spalling, just like the other side, happening here on the cement on this pylon also. I don't know if that's an encased cement pile. If that's the case, you just got to clean the top, repatch, reseal. But a lot of this on this side, because of the sun side, there's a lot more rust on this side on the post. So every single one of these is going to have to be cleaned. Here's some of the rebar showing its way here, as you can see. So we got to get above. A lot of welded connections. Just got to change that over to bolting. All this stuff is 3/8 or better. We need power assisted drilling here. Lots of drill bits, lots of sharpening. Okay, got everything back into the building must be tight. Standard verification into the building of the existing through bolts, and we may have to think about what's the verification process is going to be, and whether we want to add an epoxy bolt to eliminate that concern. And going all the way to the top, as you can see, full access. There is trash barrels here, which are not going to go anywhere unless we move them and then put them back. We do have this access, big sidewalk, but you can't do anything out here. But there is a big parking lot in the back side of this building. But you have plenty of access. It looks like they have a gate here. Whether this gate permanently locks or not, I don't think so, but it may be something that would give us a little bit of privacy. So if we can get back there and tuck in there, bring in a lift that sort of stays out of the way somewhere down there. And again, if that lift has at least a 25 to 35 foot reach, we're going to be able to get in and do a lot of the underneath stuff here. But again, standard is like the other side. Rivets, bolts, heavy duty, 5/8, 3/4 on this whole structure. All the treads are going to be rebolted with 1/2 inch on this whole structure. Then we got to paint the roof. So we got to get to the roof, which could mean, and it should be able to hold somebody on there, but it is a slippery situation. We have to figure out what's the safest way to paint that with a roller to match, and the red is going to be the color. Any questions, Fire Escape Engineers? Okay, Firescape Engineers, this is the summary video. This is Firescape on the left side. As always, we have a whole rear end. The other Firescape is down there. We have this whole rear end for staging, and I think this is probably going to be the best for us to stage up our campers, our trailers, our everything here, so we can work from above and have access to these doors on both sides without having to go through the theater and basically work conveniently and lock up a lot of things to these cables. The area looks okay. I don't think it's a bad area, and we should be able to, you know, work out of here, and if worst case comes, we can have our tools only in a separate lockbox somewhere else, or even inside this area here, such as this area here. So, with that being said, we've got this grating that needs to be lifted because door repair. These things are locked. These things look like crap. Got a re-bolt, but the C-channel is bad over there, so we have to sort of lift this up, get in there, and see what's going on. Reinforce as necessary. A lot of this grating is already loose, so that means you can, you know, get on that roof, get underneath it, and start working, or lift this grating out of here and create a paint station area. Looks like somebody's been sleeping there. It's kind of funny, but that's actually looks like somebody's bed there. But all right, debris. Okay, this side we're gonna have a lot more damage on the roof, and but let's again change all the bolts out. Seal everything into the building. Any welded connections, put a bolt in it. This is all heavy-duty construction, 1/2 inch, 5/8, 3/4 on everything. So every welded connection, I want to bolt through it. You know, every one of these, I want them separated no matter what, because there's definitely debris and dirt in there. Clean it, prime it, re-bolt it, and seal it on all sides, so that this chain link fence is a pain on this whole job. In some cases, also when the metal is joined and welded, you know, you might want to put a gusset underneath so you can get 2 3/8 bolts underneath here and going all the way down. So this is going to end right at this part right here. This is step 1 of the left fire escape on the Connecticut Avenue Theater. Firescape Engineers Part 3, Firescape on the right side of this job here in Connecticut Avenue. What we have here is, this is the back, and I think this is going to be our major setup. If there's any way that we can bring a trailer or a station here, this is going to be our station where we can actually work from the back. I'm still going to go downstairs and show all the access from down below, but I think this is going to be our major staging area because the other Farscape access is over there down at the other end, and looks like they own this piece of the street, and looks like there's plenty of parking over here. I'm just going to have to speak with them to see what is the general attitude of the neighborhood, and if the neighborhood is a clean neighborhood, we can just set up a station here, container, trailers, and just use this whole back here for office space, everything back here. Okay, going through. We got to seal this entire area here. Okay, make sure that all the connections are changed out, and we have the metal decking on top. Make sure it's always properly attached, clean, cleanse. It's starting to rot over here, so this is one of those we may need to find. Home Depot may sell some of this, and some of this patching may be done from underneath. You know what I'm saying? With caulking and screws, or pop rivets also. So that's what we need to do. Again, continues to scrape, change all the bolts. A lot of these should just impact right out with star sockets. Okay, we need to get this door to be. It's already, got the crash bar. We just got to make sure that any and all activity that lets people stop getting in here. So we may have to add another piece of this mesh to it. It's all welded. It needs cement in the pocket over here. So again, standard activity that we're very used to. Anything that's welded needs to be. If you can't get in the back of this, this is where you use self-tapping screws to get into this, so that we always back up every single weld. Don't eliminate the weld. Just back it up, okay? So a lot of these have the posts, a lot of these have the rails, so all these rails got to pop. Separate, clean, prime, silicone shut, every single one. Okay, coming down this thing. Again, the same issue down below. This looks like it's a rubber roof. Again, we're not going to be welding anyway, but we need to now get access to those, so we have to set up on top of that roof, which is going to come from all that access down there in the alleyway. So you do have full access from the front of the building towards the back, but again, parked right outside in this parking lot is where it's going to be up against the building. It's going to be very advantageous for us. The whole scrape and paint is one of the concerns we have, whether it's going to be done first or very last. So some of this concern might be structural first, and then talk about the whole painting aspect of this whole project as a secondary issue, and whether we do things as we go along or not. So a few ways and a few concerns that we have. So as you can see, some of this is all truly about access that can only be gotten from below. So it's got a post bolts down below, bolting that we can get access from above. Again, think about the grading, because if you can bring, these are standard 3-foot grates by a certain length. So by bringing some, you can basically eliminate. Some of these pieces will fit anywhere. So by thinking about this, you can bring 10 or 20 pieces of grating, put them in, paint these, and these come back and are used throughout the whole job. And then the last thing you do is the last piece of grating go in to where you were first dealing with grating. It's a nice technique of keeping the project going and never giving up platform space. We're about 35 feet from the ground. We have access back here, so depending on what kind of lift you get, you can use one of those rental lifts that have the 35-foot electric boom. Is going to be perfect back here. We have a 27-footer, but I don't think it's going to be enough for this. All right, so grading, standard, everything we talked about. Every single one of these is going to get swapped out or reinforced. We're really looking more for a swap out because it should be easy. These should just come out very, very easy. You don't have to, don't break these, unscrew them. And I think we need to look into a 3/4 impact gun for some of the heavier structural, because it'll be easier. Okay? I don't see any other roof damage. It looks like the roof damage is going to be more on the other side. See if there's any water coming through. Some of these, after you scrape them, you want to seal them. Okay? And this is part 3 of this fire escape system, all the way to here, because we talked about all the way around the other way. And that's what feeds to the backyard. Okay? You also want to talk about the chain link fence. If any of it is loose, you want to have, this is all just bolts and washers. You know, sometimes it's bolts in a flat, but you need to basically get anything that's loose tightened up. Anything that's loose on this end, you know, you may just want to put a simple washer on the other end with a nut, 3/8, and that's basically going to get a lot more rigidity to all this steel. Okay? Pop those in as needed. Scrape and paint. Use it downstairs as a station if allowed. And that might be another area that we may be able to put a trailer. But again, this is a theater, and there's always people coming out of this, so you can't block access. Okay? So that is the entire right side. The next video is going to be down below, and what needs to be done down below, and what kind of access we have from down below. And again, that's what the rooftops look like. It wasn't discussed, but the paint job will include a rolling of the top here, so we have to figure out what's the best way to get on top of this and paint this with a sausage roller. Any questions, Firescape Engineers, Inspector Summary Video, 866-649-0333. Firescape Engineers, this is Engineer Oversight. All right, so what we have here, this is still the right side, this is the final video. And again, just as an overview of everything that needs to be done, we're looking at, that's the sidewalk up there, so you're definitely going to need to get something to climb up here, get on that roof and do this section here with scaffolding up there. Here to there is probably 35 feet, 40 feet, so you need, you know, something with 25 to 35 feet clearance. A van, a bucket truck can get in here, and so our bucket truck can get in here, or that lift that they sell, they rent sometimes out of Home Depot, out of the rent-a centers, the electric, has the booms that come out. This might be one of those where it'll be perfect in here to for rented for the month, and it's going to be able to let you get underneath there and do all this structural from underneath using the lift, maybe even 2 lifts. This is even, it's got some unevenness, so I don't think it's going to be good for a scissor lift. That might be a problem, but as far as a boom that self-adjusts to the piece, it should be all right. Okay, so up against the wall underneath, see all the structural. Okay, that's got to get done. All these gussets need to be addressed with a final solution that is a combination of replacing all the rivets or reinforcing all the rivets because they're in good order and sealing them up for the 10 to 20 year. Don't forget, up against the building, 100% sealing up against the building. So you got to bring in caulking and that foam that you stick in the wall so you can basically seal it from the weather. Any cement activity, any spalling of any kind, such as that over there, that must be addressed. You got to repack that accordingly. So a majority of the structure underneath is pretty simple, pretty easy. Look at these support posts that hold the roof. There's, you know, there's bolts down below, there's bolts on the side that will be handled from above, and then there's bolts towards the roof. And we do need to get to the roof so we can give it a top coat on this roof to match the color. It looks like red's going to be the colors to match the brick on this project. Anytime you get to any situation where there's a weld, I want that weld reinforced. Every time you get to a joint where they've welded one side, bolted the other, or it's all weld, bolt, bolt, bolt. This is superstructure. This is at least 5/8, multiple 5/8, or 3/4 on this whole structure. Multiple 5/8 and 3/4 on this whole project. So, any cement into the building, you gotta caulk it. Once you clean it, I want it caulked. We got some fracture here. This is probably from ice and thaw or ice jacking, rust jacking. We need to get up there, secure it, seal it, and in some cases reinforce it accordingly with metal. But seal it from above. Stop the water from getting into there because that's water damage and ice jacking damage. Okay? And again, some weird areas here where scaffolding or just a lift. A lift is going to really, really be crucial and instrumental in painting this whole entire building. So you got to rent a lift for a month, if not 2, but usually in a month. Lift can do all the structural, lift can do all the painting from the outside, leave the remaining for the inside. We also have beautiful room here and set up stations in that back corner, for example. So we can set up a paint station down here and keep dropping all this grading down because all the grading is all one size. And if we bring some grading ourselves, we can start dropping all this, and there's the paint station right in that corner, and we just stay dirty, or it's going to be set up on the back up above. But I like this place right here. It blocks nobody. I don't think that's an access door of any kind. We can probably put up some temporary situation here. I mean, if that door, there's nothing there, we can literally bring a trailer back here and use the trailer. But so I need to find out just exactly what the situation is here and what kind of exit that is. If we can block it in any way, we may be able to utilize a station here with a trailer, one of our trailers. Even if it's one of our smallest ones, we can put it here in such a way that it'll be safe and secured in this corner. Okay, so as you can see, we've gone over all the requirements here. Plenty of caulking, plenty of cleaning, lots of changing of bolts on this structure. Everything, every single welded connection needs to be rebolted. So we definitely got to bring our power drills. This is all heavy steel, so this is 3/8 or heavier. So we can't just sit here and drill by hand all day long. This needs all kinds. We need our machinery and our power assisted bars to just drill all day long. And again, cement. Okay. Now this is the front of the building. So you have plenty of room in the front, but you can't be out here. So you have to go inside here and tuck it in. Okay. Any questions, Farscape Engineers? Inspect the summary video. Farscape Engineers. All right, so similar to the other side, all this grading is pretty standard, welded down. So once you break the weld, pop these, bring in replacement ones, because a lot of these are standard and you can use them all over the place. So bring in 10, 20 panels, and these look like they're about 42 across, 43. And again, you get an order of steel here, just cut it, drop it, probably galvanized already, so you don't have to worry about painting, drop it, use it, and then at the very end, they're the last ones that come back to us to be utilized in other situations. So, same as everything else, you got bolting, every bolt comes out, clean every connection. A lot of these, the bottoms are always popped right now. Grading, this is gonna be the last thing that we're gonna be doing. The roof on this side tends to be the worst, but again, standard. Let's get the bolts swapped out, add extra bolts if bolts are missing, see, stuff like that. Just pop in the bolts and you'll save a lot of time. Silicone shut against all the cement. Again, you have access to get in here, but skinnier than the other side, and there's gates down there. These are trash barrels that are going to be in your way that belong to both sides, I believe. So, but you can still get a machine in here of some sort and get underneath, because you're going to need a lift of some kind. This is probably 25 feet, 35 feet max to the top there. And we need to get somebody on top here, because from this outside with a lift, hopefully we can roll the roof line so that it's roll the roof line so that it's going to have one uniform color on this whole job. So as we keep going along, you're going to see that we're going to have some panels that are pretty bad. A lot of these, if we can reinforce them from underneath, find the matching curve, which seems to be a standard curve, match it from underneath, pop rivet it in, seal it up, and that way these are on the upside and that the patch is underneath on this. So this is all pretty much rotted out. In some cases it's cheaper and faster, but we don't know yet to get these out of here. But a lot of times to break all these current situations, we may be getting into some other problems. So it's, again, reinforce it from underneath, silicone shut it so that there's a sandwich, pop rivet it so that it can hold, and everything should be good. We need to bring J-bolts and or McNichols clips. Once you lift everything, you need to be going back down with McNichols clips. A lot of this is pretty rusted, so she's going to need a double dip of black, or she's going to need a primer and a black on this. So that's why you need to have the steps of taking one out, dropping another one in, but they're only going to go in certain places. So there's a process of how to infill. So you're definitely going to need 10 to 20 panels, depending on how fast your painting is going along. Again, any welded connections, I need a bolt, seal it all up, change the bolts on a lot of these, or reinforce them accordingly. But again, it's really a call on how easy things separate, and you're going to get a rhythm of what I want happening here during my inspections. Seal everything against the building, so it's starting to get the same. Okay, see all the rotted areas. So a lot of the stuff you can get access to it with, because I'm 6 feet tall and I can already touch the top. See, so it's pretty low. That's probably sitting at 8 feet tall max. Okay, don't forget a lot of these feet, they're rotted out. There's a huge amount of rust in there, so you need to do a reinforcement of everything. Look, see the height down below. If you have a lift down there, and you can get up here. So I don't want to use ladders. I want to use lifts, or if we have a scaffolding scheme that they can come in here and scaffold off this major structural, or if we want to create special brackets off of these that go down, then allow us to put planking underneath, that might be another way. And as you lift gratings, you basically work by lift grading, lift the grading, because a lot of these supports are able to be utilized as structural. So let's look at that concept. Okay, you can get up on this roof. Again, we're starting to get some damage, so a lot of this is bang this back up, secure it, put a new piece underneath it, seal it, silicone it. And if they want a new roof, they can do it. That could be an extra. But if you can't get your hand behind this, hold the bolt, then it's a one-way screws or multiple one-way screws to basically eliminate any concern with the structural on this fire escape. Okay. Plenty of access, plenty of ability to be back here quietly, and as I said before, our main staging area is back in the back of the building, but our temporary staging area can be down below if you're using the lift of any kind. All right, any questions, Fire Escape Engineers? Inspect the summary video. We're now going to do the last piece. Escape Engineers Inspector Summary Video. This is the left side fire escape. This is the final piece. Again, platform. We can get a lift underneath here, we can work, or if we have some special bracket that is made to take scaffolding planks, a double system, then we can probably utilize aluminum planking, possibly. Otherwise, a lift is the most safe one here, unless we scaffold this and reverse scaffold this with knuckles, which we can investigate. Otherwise, changing of all the bolts, any welded connections need to be rebolted. Any welded connections without any clips you need to create a clip. Any way you can't get access is one-way screws, caulking everything into the building. Seal always, everything gets sealed, so plenty of caulking. A lot of times when you have situations like this, you want to get the backer rod in there, you know, the sponge back there, then caulk the top so you're not wasting a lot of caulking. A lot of these grates are welded, so you got to break the weld, lift it, paint it, put it back with J-bolts and or McNichols clips. All of these treads, we need to not only clean them, silicone them, but then I think we need to put some sort of cover, simple little angle cover that you can probably get at Home Depot, plastic, and just glue it or silicone it so that there's no more rain and debris getting into these little nooks and crannies. All these are going to be half-inch bolts rebolted. Every single one of these needs to be rebolted and sealed because of this chain link, and the chain link on the back side needs to have some sort of connection so that it stays tight on this. Any welded connection, you got to clean it as best you can. If not, then you got to cut the weld, open it up, prime it, seal it. All these are all major structural. This is minimum starting at 5/8. 3/4 is what I'm starting to see all over this structural. So half-inch on the treads. We're probably going to be 5/8 on a lot of these. Is going to be 5/8. Yeah, I think these are all going to be 5/8. And then you're going to be doing 3/4 on a lot of the major structural. You got to get the roof. You know, the roof is in need of repair, but mainly towards that end down there. The rest of it looks pretty good here. So a lot of this is just, you know, getting in here, setting up quietly down below, setting up in the back so that you can get access. You can have men down below, men up above, and it's really a height issue. And I think it's, you know, as much as we can do from above safely, and then as much as somebody can do from below, dealing with just the painting, because there's quite a bit of work just on the above side that a single crew down below will just keep up with all the structural down below and the painting of the brackets, because everything else will be done by the crew up above. Okay? Any questions, Fire Escape Engineers? Expect a summary video, 866-649-0333.